So here's Sophie guarding Paige Beckers tightly with both of her hands on the side, not making any sort of contact. Then Paige shoves her with two hands, and finally the refs blow their whistles. However, instead of calling an obvious offensive foul, the officials call it against Sophie instead. The moment I saw the play, I was like,
what's that? What's that, brother?
Caitlin was mad, Coach White was incensed, and my 94-year-old grand was livid. See, there are only three things that are certain in this life: death, taxes, and the WNBA referees screwing the Indiana Fever time and time and time again. And in this game versus the Dallas Wings, things are no different. And in fact, they might have just gotten worse.
I love Paige to death, but those refs were giving her every freaking whistle last night. Like, you literally couldn't touch her. To get the treatment she got last night was crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was a physical game, you know. I think there's a double standard in how people get their calls.
Now, if you think I'm just clickbaiting y'all, why don't we get down to the action and I'll just let you be the judge. So, the big AB visits the laundromat early as she goes for a spin cycle that almost went viral. Then, after the Wings hit a transition 3, Howard locates the overspeeding Sophie, who pulls the emergency brakes and gently places the cape onto the plate.
To the head, Cunningham stops and lays.
Now, moments later, their defense starts to brew, but there's Paige buckets to save the possession and take advantage of the Fever's miscue. After that chaotic play, Lee Yue-Ru suddenly says, "How do you do?" while splashing a spot up 3 ball all the way from the Great Wall, which she followed up with another wide open tray, forcing Stephanie White to call Mayday. The Wings glide to a 10-1 run, building a 12-point lead with 2 minutes to go in the first, and with the Fever struggling to drop buckets, Chloe Bibby answers with back-to-back long bombs of her own to keep the Fever in the zone.
Bibby another 3. It is good again.
With Indiana shooting just 4 of 15 from the field, Beckers and the Wings took an 8-point lead heading to the second. Anyway, with the Fever on their heels, the Giant Lady rolls the red carpet and drops the soft bucket to fan the flame in the second frame. Now, sensing that the Wings are about to blow this thing wide open, Chloe Bibby gets the fire extinguisher and punches one from the deep corner. Then Sophie backs her up as she trickles one in with a mischievous grin.
Cunningham a deep 3. She got it.
But as soon as the Fever smells blood, here comes the referees sucking away their momentum. Look at this. This gal right here bumps and nudges AB multiple times as she's jostling for position. No foul was called.
What?
Then, in this sequence, AB gets hit on this attack, but the refs say play on. Now, on the second attempt, her arm got clipped, but once again, the refs refuse to blow their whistles. What? Meanwhile, on the other end, Beckers drives to the cup, and with just a slight contact, she gets an easy and one to drop. It's quite obvious what the refs are cooking. And here, Lexi scrambles for the board, and as you can see, she literally gets mauled by 2 white shirts as she was protecting the ball, and still no freaking foul.
But I cannot see, I'm legally blind.
Anyway, after getting called for a foul in this possession, even though it is crystal clear that Beckers is the one who pushes her, Miss Cunningham already stopped giving a damn, and so she just took justice into her hands by getting crafty while finishing like Kyrie.
1 to shoot, Cunningham.
Despite being down big with the refs playing their tricks, the Fever clawed their way back to tie the ball game at the half. Now in the third, the refs continued their dirty work. Here's Quinterly giving Sophie a bear hug on the block, but no foul was called. Then as Sophie goes for the hook shot, Quinterly hacks her across the arm. Caitlin and the coaching staff saw the foul right in front of their eyes, but the refs saw otherwise. After that, Howard plays great D on this possession, and then check this out. Haley Jones shoves Tash out of the picture, not just once, but twice. And as expected, the officials called nothing.
What's that, brother?
At this point, it just gets absurd, to the point that AB looks at the refs, mocking them like, come on, are you gonna call this or what? But on the next possession, the refs get back at her. See, AB was clearly hacked on the catch. Then Lee elbows her on the back. but no whistle is blown. With the Fever getting frustrated with the non-calls, the Wings take advantage of the situation by hitting from inside and out to wrap up the third up by 12. Anyway, the refs open up the fourth quarter by guess what? Calling another phantom foul on Sophie as she was guarding Beckers. Then the Wings continue to put their foot on the gas, with Big Lee and Paige leading their scoring rampage while stretching their lead margin to 17. With referees working against their favor and the Wings munching them down like a hungry gator, the Fever could have easily said okay and lived to see another day. But see, quitting isn't exactly as exciting, and so they attempt a major uprising to keep the fighting going. I mean, Mitchell drops a hammer from the deep corner, then she sprays it out to Sophie, who then splashes another three.
Sprints into the lane, finds Cunningham, she got it.
And after making the Wings fall with their foul bait, the Fever found themselves down to just 8. And after Kelsey gets clipped on this 3-ball attempt, she sinks 2 of 3 from the stripe, capping an 11-0 run to make things more fun. Down by just 4, the Fever have a chance to make it a 1-possession ball game. However, the whistle-blowing clowns are working double time to make sure that won't happen. I mean, look at this. The Big Lee seemingly gets the inside position against AB, which leads to an easy and 1 opportunity. But see, if you re-roll the tapes, it's as bright as day that Lee clamps AB's arm down and even hooks it hard to make it appear to the refs that AB is the one who made the contact in the NBA that merits an offensive foul because it renders the defensive player helpless in that kind of situation. I mean, I have to admit, that's a smart move. However, that doesn't mean that it's legal. Anyway, Stephanie White challenged the call. And after careful deliberation, here's how the refs see it.
We have no illegal conduct by Euro, so the call will stand as confirmed. This will be also...
Once again, the officials screwed the Fever in the crucial moments of a close game, and instead of having a chance of bringing down the lead, they now found themselves down by 7 with around 2 minutes left. Despite the obvious injustice though, the Fever clapped back and even cut down the lead to just 1 with this crazy Kelsey Mitchell drive. But in the end, their comeback efforts fell short as the Wings survived by a hairline, 81-80. Without question, the numerous bad calls have factored in on the outcome of the game, and at the post-game interview, Stephanie White didn't hold back in calling out the obvious bias in the officiating.
You know, I think there's a double standard in how people get their calls. I think Kelsey Mitchell, number 1, is held or chucked on every freaking possession and never gets a call off the ball. I think Aaliyah Boston is the worst officiated post player in the league. And you know, there's a double standard there.
Well, based on the plays you just saw, what do you think the refs are really up to here? Were they just blind to the calls, or were they straight up targeting Caitlin and the Fever on purpose? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's see if we're all seeing the same thing. Anyway, that's it for now. And as always, this has been the Hoop Doctor, thanking y'all for watching, and I shall see you on the next game recap. Peace.